Costco has a market cap of 215 billion, a PE of 38, and a dividend yield of 0.74%. So now that earnings have released, let's do a top-down analysis to determine if there's a value investing opportunity. The stock is down about 18% from those highs back in April of 2022. But is this actually justified, or is this really just irrational market behavior? Stick around as we'll be talking about that and more on today's episode. How's it going? Welcome to Everything Investing. I hope you're having a great day. Today we're going to analyze Costco's business and earnings results. We'll start with the partially full analysis into the financials. We'll go through the top line, the bottom line. They did not produce a cash flow statement, but that's still enough for us to conclude with our evaluation of this business using our intrinsic value calculator seen on screen, which will identify whether Costco is a value investment or not. And if you enjoy the analysis and the value investing perspective, please like and consider subscribing for more of this content. And as always, let's do this business analysis in 5 minutes. All right, so looking at their fourth quarter results, as you can see, it's very bare bones. They didn't produce all the statements that we do need, but that's likely because they're just going to produce a full report for their annual 10K filing. Now let's jump into the statement of income here, which they did provide us with, and let's first analyze how they did on a quarterly basis. And as we can see, their revenue breakdown goes as follows. We have net sales, and then we have membership fees. This creates our total revenue here for this quarter of $72 billion. That is actually ticked up quite a bit for year over year perspective, so that's great to see. Then we have to look at our operating costs, which we have $64 billion worth of, and SG&A, which leaves us with operating income here of $2.5 billion. Last year we only had $2.2 billion at this time, so that is a significant improvement. And then after we deduct for other expenses and taxes, we're left with $1.8 billion in net income. Now if you look at this on a year over year perspective, for this year we were left with $226 billion, actually 227, let's call it, billion dollars in total net revenue. This is ticked up from 195 billion last year, so that's a sizable increase just on the top line alone. Costs did increase slightly as well, and that leaves us with $7.7 billion in operating income, again an improvement on last year. And then overall, when you look at this from a net income perspective, we're at $5.8 billion versus the $5 billion last year. So definitely great signs to see if you're an investor or a potential investor of Costco. You want to see top line and bottom line is growing year over year over year. That's exactly what you're seeing here for Costco, and it's one of the reasons why they have such a great brand moat, and also why they're only down about 17-18% from those highs in 2022, whereas other companies are down 50-60%. I've even seen some businesses down 70%. So that leads us to our net income per share. And we look at this from a diluted perspective here, we have $4.20 for this quarter, but for the sake of the calculator, we'll be using this $13 figure towards the end of the video, so stick around for that. Before that, we'll jump into the balance sheet here. We have cash and cash equivalents here of $10 billion plus our short-term investments. Let's just round up and call it about $11 billion of liquid cash on the balance sheet. A tiny figure here for their current portion of short-term debt. They also do have $6.5 billion in long-term debt, but when we compare this to the liquid cash that they have on the balance sheet, even just the current assets, we can see that the balance sheet here for Costco is lovely. It's exactly what you'd want to see as an investor or a potential investor, so we have no complaints here. As you can see, if I scroll down further, that is the end of the report, so we'll jump into the calculator with that. And just a disclaimer, analysts for the entire year were expecting that Costco would come out with about $13 in earnings per share, and they did just that. So let's put in that $13 figure here. We require a 10% return. They do pay a small dividend, so we'll add it into our calculation here. And if earnings can grow at that 16% figure for the next 5 years that they have been growing at, and then let's just say the business matures a little more over the next 5 to 10 years and it only drops down to about 10% on a 25 PE. I mean, we're trading right now at a 38 PE. So even if we bump this up to about 35 PE on an average basis, the stock should be worth about $725 per share. Right now we're sitting at about $487 per share. So that's north of a 50% upside from these levels, which we can anticipate once we get back to regular macroeconomic proceedings. If in the best case scenario here, we can actually grow the earnings per share at, let's say, 20% for the next 5 years, that drops down to 15% on a 40 PE. Yeah, this stock is going to moon up to $1,100 per share. Again, more than a double here for Costco. And then in the very worst case scenario, let's say for some reason they have some supply chain challenges, for whatever reason their costs increase and members start to look for other alternatives. Let's say this drops down to 8% for the first 5 years and then drops down to only 3% for the 5 years after that on a 15 PE. Yeah, the stock would be at 248, but again, the stock never really trades that low. Let's put that at a 25 PE, and let's see, yeah, a margin of safety investment would say that at $339, you'd be looking at a safe investment here for Costco. But of course, that is just my calculator's opinion. Then when we jump into the stock chart here, we can see we do have some support here around $470 per share. So if we did break this level here and we continue valued lower, we could probably be targeting this $400 per share level, which gets you that much closer to that $340 margin of safety level. But I don't anticipate that it would get that low. Just saying, if it did, this would be a great buying opportunity. As we've seen in the past, once we've gotten down to this level, we've never returned that low. So anyways, this is my opinion. This is my analysis on Costco. If you enjoyed the value investing perspective, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.